2, 3, 4, 5. My time here is nearly over, for the new year is almost here. Yes, 25 will be no more once I finish this score. I'll like it before too late, and then comes good old hectate.
Huh. Looks like he's finally taking a new direction.
Well, excuse me, Mrs. Bushy, there was no need to ambush me. If you wanted me to speed things up, you could have just said what is that toy over there? It looks dangerous, I swear. Oh boy, it might have me.
Red? No. Yellow? Maybe.
Is the thing getting even closer? Oh wait, no, I'm getting closer to it. And yet the music's playing faster. Oh, like in this lost. I should have reconsidered making the text bigger, but I'm on my final legs now. When I don't have any legs, ow! The numbers haven't dealt with singing through dread. They're not coming through there, and who knows where. I'm scared. I may end.
Dead?
Sorry about that, fellas, but I just had to put a stop to that.
He landed in a wood chipper!
He what? Oh, darn. My aim's never been the best.
Boy, I'll say. So much for a Happy New Year. Wait, y'all actually concerned for him? Well, I mean, I know he could be a nuisance at times, but he didn't deserve the death penalty of all things. I could have prevented this.